So I now want to talk about encouraging innovation through collaboration and ideas. And I suppose the first step is part of that is to think about if we're promoting values and benefits of innovation, um, and we want to encourage innovation and we want to encourage it through consultation and ideas, it's about who needs to be involved. Who are the stakeholders as part of all this? Well, there are a number of internal and external stakeholders who need to be involved in both the promoting and in the consultation, and the fostering of ideas and concepts. If we think about internal, we've got managers, executives, supervisors, other people who play leadership roles within the team and the organization. We've got intra and inter team members. So when we talk about internal, intra team members will be our team, other stakeholders, other people within our team, but inter team members can be people in other teams still within our organization. So if we think about that 3M idea of collaboration of ideas, working together with other people, that's going to involve some intra stuff where you'll be talking with other members of your team, but also include some inter stuff where you might be having to consult with people from other teams as well. And then you've got external, outside the organization, suppliers and contractors, interest groups or industry groups that can provide consultation, important consultation and ideas from an industry perspective or an interest perspective. And then of course we the importance of getting them involved is through this idea of getting buy-in, and we want to get buy-in. We want people to have an interest and a stake in what we're doing. And the way to do that is through consultation, is through asking for people's ideas and then allowing those ideas to, where appropriate, permeate through the decisions that we're making. So to a degree, even delegate some of that decision making so that by consulting, by informing and getting people involved, giving ownership where the opportunities arise and where it's appropriate, that ownership can also come with the responsibility of decision making within certain scopes of responsibility. So we start to even delegate some of that, and that gets that ownership and buy-in so that those key stakeholders are involved in the process. And we want to make sure that uh, we want to encourage um, innovation through consultation and ideas, because people at the front line, they're in the best place to not only come up with solutions but to identify issues. So there may be issues or problems where innovation is the solution. So what are some of the challenges that we're facing? What are some of the quality issues? What are some of the time issues or constraints that you're facing? And what are some of your ideas on improving that? Do you have anything that is a little bit from left field or something that we haven't done before? Have you got any thoughts on what we're doing? Are you aware of other organizations doing things differently that maybe we can look to uh, to learn from and inform our decision making? So as leaders, we by doing those things, we can encourage people to offer suggestions and ideas that can then feed into what we're doing. It doesn't have to be that their ideas make up 100% of what the solution is, but they can make up a significant, so that a number of key stakeholders can have a voice in those innovative solutions. And by doing that, if we can get that across our team, we're going to get a really wide range of ideas and perceptions that's going to permeate our decision making, our solution creation. But it's also going to bring in different people with different skills, and that's going to help us in terms of executing it and executing it successfully. And of course, if people look at something and that they see that their voice and their ideas are part of that. So they look at it as a solution or something that we're implementing, and they say, "Oh, I was a significant part of that." That's going to increase their ownership and their commitment to that. And as their commitment increases, um, and as it ties into their work and their work plans, you'll start to see that not only will their commitment increase to the task, but they also start to put greater emphasis on self-monitoring and self-improving their work. So they'll play a greater role in monitoring their work, providing feedback, looking for opportunities to improve uh, on that work rather than waiting for management to tell them, give them feedback and tell them where the opportunities are. They start to manage themselves. And that's one of the really wonderful byproducts of getting that buy-in and ownership. Of course, we've talked about consultation now through many of the units, and these, pardon me, these slides are from those topics within those units. But just to come back to this idea of what I've been talking about, through consultation we get engagement and buy-in and commitment, but it has to be genuine. We can't just give this lip service where we ask people for opinions and then ignore those opinions. We really need to take those on board, make sure that we work through them, and we're genuine about that. And as I just mentioned, they can be internal or external. And there's a range of techniques: team meetings, one-on-one discussions, online information and feedback events, emails, surveys and questionnaires, focus groups, or comments walls. And I've unpacked these previously, so I won't use up our time by going through those. So when we're encouraging ideas, just some important things to think about. Ask for the proposal recommendations. Ask for those proposals to be made in writing. Writing helps people to really nail what it is that they're trying to say. If we can encourage people to identify their thoughts by writing them down, it will help to clarify their thinking before they come to us with that. Then we can discuss those ideas with the employer. We can elevate our level of empathy to understand it from their perspective, and then look where we can build on that. And that's that constructive advice. Look for opportunities where we can recognize positive stuff and we can give feedback on advice that we think can help build on that. It's important then that we bring the rest of the team in. So we discuss the ideas with other stakeholders, and that can be, again, intra and inter. We offer to, if we think it's a good idea and we help them to develop a plan for that, we can then offer to co-sponsor that with senior management to take it up to the next level of decision making if required. And then we can keep those people involved in the idea, keep them in the loop, making sure that we're being honest and we're being open about that, so that they feel like we're not trying to steal their ideas or we're not trying to get credit for it, but we're supporting them through getting this idea through the organization for approval, and making sure that that then feeds through the reward process, so that if those ideas or part or full of those ideas are accepted and incorporated, that those people are getting appropriate recognition for that, because that's going to encourage them and others who see it to continue to do that. That's that positive reinforcement that encourages others to continue to do that. And of course, some of the concepts I've been talking about in terms of really encouraging ideas is making sure that we have these flatter organizational structures. It's one of the big challenges for Google recently is as trying to be, as Google has become more successful. Of course, they've become bigger organizations with many more layers of hierarchy. One of the pitfalls of that, and of course we have hierarchies because it gives us great control as an organization. I've talked about this previously through communication and so forth, but one of the pitfalls is that it takes a long time for information to go through an organization when there's lots of layers. And if you're talking about decision making, so someone has an initiative and an idea and it's got to go through lots of layers of decision making, it slows the whole process down and becomes really frustrating for the people trying to instigate new ideas. So one of the things that organizations need to do to encourage ideas and innovative recommendations and suggestions is to really flatten the structure so that the decision making can be as quick as possible. And this is where I talked about earlier about really making sure that we've got the right people with the right skill set, with the right levels of accountability, and then decision making can be pushed down to the appropriate level, so that maybe management at a particular level doesn't have to make the decision. Maybe that's that with the right framework in place, someone at a more operational level can make the decision, and that we have good communication going across functional areas of the organization, so that if we do require inter-team collaboration, that there's no barriers within that. And we're encouraging that both from a communication and from a working perspective. And of course, we've got to have those uh, rules and regulations that are in place that allow for flexibility and adaptability. So it's not just rigid, that discourages people from coming up with ideas because their idea might encompass something that isn't um, captured by our current framework of rules and regulations. Our rules and regulations need to be able to adapt when those circumstances happen, so it doesn't discourage good ideas because our systems um, are out of date with the new idea or out of step with the new idea. And of course, there are a range of sources for information that can come from within the organization, things like our organizational records or through feedback from our customers and clients, through market research that we've done to try and understand the landscape of our workspace, where we're our customers and our end users, through industry publications or conferences or seminars or workshops, through networking where you're connecting with other people in similar industries, in similar roles, looking at what your competitors are doing, seeing what they're doing, seeing how that's working or not working, having a look at benchmarking best practice that may be out there. And those are all great sources of information for ideas so that we don't necessarily have to come up with the idea from scratch. It might be that you can come up with ideas or you can identify ideas and innovations that are occurring in other contexts and seeing how they can be applied into our context. So you don't have to be the next disruptor, you don't have to be the next revolutionary in terms of an innovative idea, but maybe you can take some of those ideas and apply it. The old story about Copernicus was the one that come up with the idea of the Earth not being flat. But it was Galileo later on that was able to put that into a way that really connected and gained traction. So often it's not, we don't have to come up with the concept from scratch. We can use existing ideas, but be able to apply that in the way that has its greatest impact. And that's really what we think about with innovation in our organization, our workplace.